Good evening, class. This is Mrs. Albright, and tonight we are working on Module 3, Lesson 17. And our objective this evening is to divide two-digit numbers by one-digit numbers using place value discs. And these problems will have regrouping in the tens. Last night we worked on dividing problems where we had to regroup in the ones place. So make sure you have a whiteboard or a piece of scratch paper so that you can work on these problems right along with me, and let's get started. We're going to start off very simply with 3 divided by 2. And if we modeled this with number discs, we would have 3 ones. And if we're dividing it by 2, that means I want to make 2 groups. So I'm going to take this one and put it in this group, another one and put it in this group. So when I say 3 divided by 2, my answer is going to be 1 because I can get 1 1 in each of those 2 groups. And then I have a remainder of 1. I have 1 left over. This work, we're going to take this a step farther, and we're going to work on 30 divided by 2. So I'm going to work on this the same way where I use a place value chart, and I'm going to label it with my 1s and my 10s. And I'm going to model 30 in my place value chart. So that is going to be 3 10s. Now, since I am dividing this by 2, I'm going to draw my dividing line, and I'm going to make myself space for 2 groups. And I'm going to take this 10 and put it in that group, this 10 and put it in this group. And now I am left with 1 left over. So when I take 30 divided by 2, and I'm going to write this again with our long division format, 30 divided by 2, my 3 10s divided by 2 ends up with 1 10 in each of those 2 groups. And I used up 2 of those 10s. So my 1 times 2 tells me that I've used up 2 of those. And I'm going to subtract that, 3 minus 2. That leaves me with 1 10 left over. So now I need to keep dividing. If this is 1 10, that I can regroup it, and it becomes 10 ones. 6, 7, 8, 9. So now I can still regroup this. This is where that bring down comes into play. So it's not 1 remainder 1. My 3 10s is divided by 2, 1 time in the tens column, and now I'm going to think of these not as 1 left over 10. I'm going to regroup that so it's 10 ones, and I'm going to divide by 2 again. I'm going to take this one and put it in this group, this one and put it in this group, this one and put it in this group, and I'm going to continue distributing these 10 ones into my 2 even groups until I am either out or I don't have enough to make any more equal groups. And you can see when I take my 10 ones and I divide it into 2 equal groups, I end up with 5 in each group. So my 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then I'm going to multiply my 5 times 2 and see how many dots did I use up when I made these 2 groups, and the answer is 10. And then I can subtract. 10 minus 10 is 0. And as you can see with my place value discs up here, I don't have any remainders. There are not any left over. So my final answer to 30 divided by 2 is 15, 1 10 and 5 ones. For our next problem, again, we're going to start off very simply with 4 ones divided by 3. And if I model that in a place value chart with my 1s and my 10s, I have 4 ones. I'm going to divide that into 3 equal groups. So first I need to finish drawing my 4 ones. This one will go in this group, this one will go in this group, this one will be distributed to this group. So you can see that I end up with 1 1 in each group. So when I do 4 divided by 3, I end up with 1 in each group. That uses up 3 of my dots altogether, and I am left with 1 as my remainder. So 4 divided by 3 is 3. I'm sorry, not 3. Is 1, remainder 1. Here's my quotient. Here's my remainder. Build on this problem, instead of 4 divided by 3, now we're going to add on to this. Now it is 4 tens, 2 ones divided by 3. So I'm going to model this with place value discs. I have my ones and my tens, and I'm going to model 42 in my place value chart, 4 tens, 2 ones, and I'm going to be dividing this into 3 equal groups. So I'm doing my division line there. And I'm going to give myself space to make 3 equal groups to distribute these. Here's where I rewrite my problem with the standard long division format to get ready to divide it. Now, I'm not going to worry about my 2 ones to start out with. I'm only going to worry about dividing my 4 tens. And I've got 4 tens here. I'm going to distribute those into 3 equal groups. So that goes to that group, this 10 goes to this group, this 10 goes to this group. So when I take my 4 tens and divide it into 3 equal groups, I end up with only 1 in each group. So another way of thinking about that is 3 goes into 4 only 1 time. That used up 3 of my tens, so I can go ahead and subtract those 3 tens that I used up. 4 minus 3 is 1, and that is my remainder 10 that is left there. Now I can't just forget about that. I can't divide that 110 into 3 equal groups evenly, but I can regroup it so that 110 becomes 10 ones. So I'm just regrouping it. I'm moving it from my tens to my ones, and I'm going to put that together with the 2 tens, or the 2 ones that I already started with. So now altogether I have 12 ones that I can divide into my 3 equal groups. So I'm going to start with dividing those. This 10 goes here. You can also be asking yourself in your mind, 3 goes into 12, how many times, or 3 times what number gets you close to 12? I'm just going to continue distributing these dots until I either run out or until I don't have enough to make equal groups. And you can see that these divided evenly. I have the same number in each group, and I don't have any left over. And one group is 4. So when I take my 12 ones and divide it into groups of 3, I end up with 4 in each group, and I'm going to write that 4 up on the top. So now I'm saying that my quotient is 14. To finish off this long division, I'm going to take the 4 ones that I have in each group, multiply that by 3 to see how many ones that used up altogether, and record that number. And 4 times 3 is 12. I'm going to subtract those, which that's what I did with my place value chart up here. I was distributing all of these. So I'm taking away all the ones that I distributed. So 12 minus 12 is 0. So now I don't have any remainder. My final answer, I can just write 14. I'm going to do one more example, 84 divided by 3. So I'm going to start by modeling this in my place value chart, my 8 tens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, my 3 ones. I still need to label my place value chart, my tens and my ones, and I'm going to rewrite the problem so that I'm ready for that long division format. I'm not going to worry about my 4 ones to start out with. I'm only going to worry about dividing my 8 tens. I'm going to give myself space on the place value chart for me to record what my 3 equal groups are, because I'm dividing it by 3, so I'm giving myself 3 spaces. And I'm going to ask myself, 8 tens is divided by 3, how many times? I can distribute these tens into my 3 equal groups until I either run out or I don't have enough to make another equal group. You can see I've got 2 left here, and 2 is not enough for me to give 1 more to each of these groups. So now I know that 8 divided by 3 leaves me with 2 in each group. 2 times 3 is 6, so I'm going to record that 6 here, and that represents how many of these tens were used up when I distributed those 8 tens, and those are the 6 that are canceled out there. So 8 minus the 6 that I distributed leaves me with my remainder of 2 tens. Those 2 tens will be regrouped over here into my ones column as 20 ones. That's 110. That's 2 tens. So now I can distribute these into my ones column. And if I bring down, looking over here at my long division format, I'm going to put those 2 tens that just turned into 21s. I'm going to combine those with the 4 tens that I already had. And actually, I just noticed that my model is not correct. I only put 3 ones there. I need to add that 4th one because it was 84. And now I can distribute those ones. So as I cancel them out, I'm going to distribute them into my place value chart and see how many groups of 3, or how many dots end up in my 3 equal groups for each of these. It's easier, I can do this in my mind, asking myself, 24, or 3 times what number gets me close to 24? And as I continue to distribute these ones, we're going to see that it ends up being 8 ones in each column. I still have 3 left. I have enough to make one more round. And if I count these up, I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in each of my groups. So 84 divided by 3, the final answer is 2 tens, 8 ones. So 24 divided by 3, I'm going to record that 8 because that's how many is in this equal group. I'm going to multiply 8 times 3, that gives me 24. That tells me how many of these dots were distributed. I'm going to subtract that and I'm left with 0, and you can see that up here in this section I do not have any remainder ones. So my final answer to 84 divided by 3 is 28. And that's how we divide when we have to do some regrouping in the tens column. These are your practice problems, and just like last night's video, they are starting off simpler, 5 divided by 4, and then we are going to build on that and turn that into 5 tens. So here we have 56 divided by 4, 7 divided by 2, and then we will build on that and do 7 tens, 3 ones, or 73 divided by 2. Make sure you are working these out on your whiteboard or scratch paper, drawing those place value discs. Rewatch the sections of the video if you need to, if you're feeling stuck. Bring any questions that you have back to class tomorrow where we will continue working on it. Have a great night. I'll see you in the morning.